Hello, welcome back to my Bitchy channel. My name is Natalie Mundy, aka Brickgrab Reading. Same name on here, YouTube and on Instagram. I am here with my April wrap-up. These are all the books I read in April plus one Kindle book, and technically these two were audiobooks I listened to whilst gaming, but I also have the physical copy, so I'll just show them to you. I also read one Kindle book which was kindly gifted to me by somebody on Instagram as part of a random act of kindness thing called His Prize People by Jessica Kane. Quick summary of that is quick, dirty read, very taboo. If you can't tell by the title, it's about a relationship between a college student and her photography professor. They kind of meet one night in kind of dodgy circumstances in like a brothel. Like she's there to sell her virginity. This is what I mean, it's very taboo. But like I said, a quick, dirty romance. It was spicy. One thing about this channel is just to say I am not ashamed of admitting I like reading spicy, smutty books. It was very spicy, it was very smutty. Yeah, but I don't have any physical copies of like spicy, smutty romance in this book's about. I'd say spicy is like heat, it's very hot, which I'd say, if my memory serves me right, this is quite spicy, but smutty is like full on sex and all of that. I'd say from my memory, Silver Flames is kind of smutty. I can't remember. My brain's like a sieve with these sort of things. I'm terrible. So we are gonna this won't be in order of what I read. If you want to see the order of what I read in April, go to my Instagram profile at Brickgrab Reading, and I'll see if I can put the title here. 2021 reads highlights, and you'll be able to see what I've read so far. Right, first things first. Start with Friend of Glass by Sarah J Maas. At the moment I'm on a bit of a Sarah J Maas kick. I'm really liking her stuff. I've read through all the Acotar books so far, really enjoyed them. And I'm making my way through the Friend of Glass series now. I'm on what is the second mainline book. Yeah, Crown of Midnight. Actually no, I'm on the third book. Ooh. Actually no, technically the fourth book. Aerify, because the Assassin's Blade is technically the first one, but it came out later. Because to me it's prequel novel. It's prequel novellas all in one book. Friend of Glass, which is actually, I really enjoyed this actually. It's quite interesting. I have a feeling the series is going to get darker as it goes on. Like, it wasn't that dark, but it'll get darker as it goes on. I think in my review of it, which I will do a separate review video on, some of these I'll do separate review videos on because I've actually written down what I've had on my phone about them, but the others I won't. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I said it had decent world building, and my summary of one of the characters is the king is a cunt. Sorry. Yeah, he's a see you next Tuesday. I flipping hated him so much. Anyway, excuse my hair and my pajamas. I've literally just had a bath, and then I've had the energy to film a YouTube video. So yeah, 4 out of 5 stars. I really recommend. I think I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed the first Acotar book, because the first Acotar book isn't that great in my opinion. It gets better from book 2 onwards for that series. Before that, The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas, which is it's the prequel novellas for the Throne of Glass series. Some people tell you to read it, I think, like halfway through this book. I personally don't agree with that. Like, I'm kind of glad I've read it first because it gave me like a lot more context, like, to the first book. Like, this. Oh, sorry. If you ever like move slightly back, it's not because I'm zooming in or anything. It's because my tripod is on my book trolley, which I will film a tour of later. Probably tomorrow. Well, it won't be up tomorrow. I'll be filming tomorrow. This is being filmed on the Tuesday night. Yeah, because Selenia, and she's called in the first few books. I know her name changes in Air of Fire. I believe it changes. That's because the blurbs on the rest of the book tell me that her name changes to Aelin, I think it is. These, like I said, give you context to the first book, I think. So I think if you were going to read the Final Girl series, even though I haven't actually completed it yet, I'd say start with Assassin's Blade. Even though it's not my favourite so far, I gave this 3 out of 5. Was it 3 out of 5 or 3.5? 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Because I feel like when I eventually go back and reread this series, I'll appreciate this bit more. But yeah, some of the stuff that happens in this book, Selenia mentions, like, she mentions in this book, and she mentions in this book as well. So, like, it gives you wider context to the story. But yeah, like I said, 3 out of 5 stars. I do really recommend this series so far. It's quite good. And next is what's probably my favourite read of the month so far, of the month of April, which is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I think I've pronounced her name right. I'm not too sure. This follows a girl, a 17-year-old teenager called Emily, who lives in Philadelphia with her grandmother. Emily is Afro-Latinx, if I'm getting it right. Emily's half black, half Latinx. Her father's from Puerto Rico and her mum's from the Carolinas. I think it's South Carolina. But this is a fantastic book. It's so well paced. It's like a nice, like, short read if you're like in a series and you just want a break and you want something different. She's 17-year-old. She has a 2-year-old daughter. She's trying to raise her daughter with a grandmother who's getting pretty sick, who's not that well. She has like problems with her hands. I think she has like arthritis or something. But her big love, apart from her daughter, obviously, is the kitchen. Like, she loves cooking. She loves that. And she gets put in a class, like a culinary arts class, and they have to fundraise money for a trip to Spain, which is like the main crux of this book. That's what Emily is building towards throughout the book. Yeah, I said I really want to try the recipes of this book. Like enough, this will also get another separate review video, so I'll go more in depth on my thoughts and that of this book. And yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Really recommend. This was probably like my favourite book I've read so far. I read in April. Next up, Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This one is very different. The main thing that drew me into reading this book, even though I didn't really realise until I watched the review, I just mainly bought it because of the plot summary on the back. It's written in verse. Like, it's written like a long form poem. Oh no. Let me go to the start. Like, this is what it looks like on the inside. And that makes it really interesting. Like, it's quite a different way for me reading a book. Like, I've never written a book. I've never read a book like this before. Like, it was really interesting to me. Although I did give it 4 out of 5 stars, I'm pretty sure, because while I say it's a very, very good book, and it's got a really good story, really good storytelling. Elizabeth is amazing. I struggled to get into it at first. Like, it took me a good day or so to get into it because like I said, it's a new writing style to me. I've never read a book like this before, but I do recommend it. especially if you've read With the Fire on High and you liked With the Fire on High, or The Poet X, which I believe is Elizabeth's other book I haven't read yet. I'd really recommend Clap When You Land, because it tells the story of two sisters who don't even realise they're sisters. Like, one's called Camino, who lives in the Dominican Republic, who every year waits for her father to land on a plane during the summer. But this year that the book's set in, she goes to the airport and he doesn't turn up because the plane's crashed. And this is based on like a real life event back in the early 2000s. Whilst in New York, Yaharia is called to the principal's office, where she gets told by her mum that her father's died. And this book is basically about the secret being revealed to them, and them eventually coming together. But yeah, it's also a hotkey book. Like, with I like hotkey books, even though I don't own that much of them. They've got like little guides on the back. Like, if you look like right here, like this is the one for With the Fire on High, and this is the one for Cat When You Land. And Cat When You Land says, obviously always all says what's in it, and it's like quick summary of the book. Sisters, secrets, lost, forgiveness. It's always like 4 things that can quickly summarise the book. Now, on to the 2 audiobooks. I say audiobooks. I have, as you can see, got physical copies of them. Dune by Frank Herbert. This, if you've read most sci-fi books, and you've watched The Matrix, you've watched Star Wars, you've watched Ender's Game, stuff like that, practically all of them owe a lot to Dune. Like, this is like the foundation for like modern sci-fi books, films, TV shows. Like, most of the stuff we'd assume that would be just general sci-fi, like, genre codes come from Dune. I listened to the audiobook for the first time. I read this. I actually got this for my birthday. I read this about October of last year, and I really, really liked it. Like, it's one of my favourite books I've ever read. It's about a boy called Paul who kind of gets forced into travelling to this planet with his parents called Arrakis, which, if you control Arrakis, you control the universe, because it's got a very precious resource, and his father, Duke Leto, basically gets put in charge, but Leto gets killed, and it forces Paul and his mum, the Lady Jessica, who is essentially a glorified concubine, but her and Leto were madly in love, and Jessica just refused to marry him for like political reasons or something, to like improve his standing or something. So then to go on the run, and Dune follows their journey. I do recommend the audiobook. It did take me out of it sometimes. Like, they had like voice actors, so like Leto, Jessica, Paul, Gurney Harnick, the Baron, who's like the main antagonist of this, but like they had voice actors from them. But sometimes the narrator would do voices as well, and it took me out of it sometimes. It was quite hard to do, considering I was listening to it whilst playing the game, and I was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake whilst playing this, so I blasted through the audiobook so quick. Dune Messiah, also by Frank Herbert, obviously. I think I know his son, Frank Herbert's son, took over the Dune series at some point, because obviously Frank died. I think Frank died in the 80s, and yeah, his son took over. But yeah, Dune is the sequel to, obviously, Dune. I don't know how long after. Oh no, I say I don't know how long after. It says 12 years in the summary. 12 years after the events of Dune. Obviously, Paul's more grown up now. He's about 17 in the first book. Say early 30s. Yeah, say he's like his late 20s, early 30s in this book. I read the original trilogy, which is Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, and it went off the fucking rails in Children of Dune, so I recommend, if you want to read all of them, like the Paul trilogy, which is Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, but be warned, Children of Dune goes off the fucking rails. So I decided, like, if I'm gonna listen to the audiobooks, I'm just gonna stop at Dune Messiah. I got through the audiobook really quickly because it's quite a short book. Also, while I was playing 7 Remake, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I also got through this really quickly when I was reading it because I was sick in bed, and it's quite a short book, so I got through it in a day. I do really recommend it. It's quite interesting to see how the world of Dune's developed in that time. Like this one, I've only read the Game of Thrones books, by the way. I haven't seen the TV show. It feels very Game of Thronesy and like the politics of it. Like, it's quite interesting to see how everybody's convening against everybody in this book. Like, even Paul and the love of his life, Shani, are conspiring. Kind of. They're all being manipulated in one way or another by the Bene Gesserit, who I freaking hate. Oh my god, I cannot explain how much I hate the Bene Gesserit. Oh, they're just... If you read the books, or listen to the audiobooks, you'll understand my hatred of the Bene Gesserit. This is also why I'm really excited for the film. It's meant to be coming out in October. I want to see what they do with the Bene Gesserit in that film. See, like, can they, like, change my mind? Like, the only kind of decent Bene Gesserit is, Lady Jessica and Princess Irulan. Like, you don't see much of Princess Irulan in the second book and even in this book. But she's kind of being manipulated by everybody. Jessica's alright, but she gets a bit off the rails in Children of Dune. But yeah, I'm not talking about that book ever again. Still recommend it though. Like, the Dune series, like, if you're into sci-fi bit and kind of want to, like I said, the Dune series is basically the origins for most sci-fi stories now. Back to books. I finished off the Acotar series this month, in April, because Court of Silver Flames came out that month. First up, obviously, I don't finish this first. The first one I finished was The Court of Rings of Ruin, but this is just the way the pile was on my lap. Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is like a novella. It kind of sets the scene, but it bridges the gap between Wings and Ruin. No, Mist and Wings and Ruin and Silver Flames. I believe there's another one coming out. I don't know when. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in between Silver Flames and the next book. It'll be in the main series. Yeah. This is like set during the winter solstice, which is like their Christmas in the world of... I can't remember the name of the fucking world. Hold on. The map in here. Oh, Parantium. Yeah, it's the winter solstice in Parantium, especially in Valaris, which is where this one's set, and it's Feyre's first one as High Lady in her court, which is the Night Court, where she Rhysand, I think they're married. I'm pretty sure they're married. Yeah, really good. It does drag slightly this bit though, but if you I feel like you have to read it to read the series and to understand Silver Flames, because a lot of the stuff that happens in this to a particular character called Nesta, who's Feyre's older sister. It was mentioned quite often in Silver Flames. So yeah, good book. Next up is Acotar, the Rings and Ruin. It's really, really good. It's probably my favourite out of all the Acotar books so far. Silver Flames is probably a close second, because probably goes Wings of Ruin, Mist and Fury, Silver Flames, Frost and Starlight, and then Thorns and Roses, which is the first one, which obviously gave the series its name. This one, Feyre has basically been taken away from the Night Court by her ex, because he thinks she's being tracked and she's basically spying on them. This book brings like Feyre's storyline to a conclusion. Like, I'd say Frost and Starlight is probably like an epilogue, because I think that there's like, yeah, it brings Feyre's arc for me to a close. This book, it's really good, really well plotted. Like, the battle sequence at the end, even though it's like spread over multiple chapters, is really good, interesting, very political, this book as well. Like, the politics of the world is quite interesting. Particular scene in it where I wanted to fucking strangle Tamlin. Like, the meeting between the High Lords, like, just Tamlin, just shut up before you get killed. It's also got quite a heartbreaking end to it as well. Like, Feyre, her sister Elaine, and Nesta witness their dad being killed, which brings me to Silver Flames, because Nesta, poor girl Nesta, basically blames herself for her father's death, even though there was nothing any of them could have done to stop it. Like, the main bad guy for the past few books, the King of Highburn, killed their father in front of them, and Nesta obviously blames herself, and nothing any of them could have done to do it, which is quite sad. Next up, I do really recommend this series. So next up is Acotar Silver Flames. I got the Waterstones edition, which means I got the extra chapter with Feyre and Lysand, which basically explains what they were doing during this book. I do recommend this. It's obviously follows Nesta, which is who's Feyre's older sister. She wasn't that good of a person in the first few books, but this book explains, like, obviously it's told from Nesta's point of view. You kind of get to understand why she behaved the way she did. Got the Waterstones exclusive one, which got the Feyre Lysand chapter at the end, which is really interesting. Sorry, I'm not revealing much of the plots of this game. Books, because I read these all through April, and my mind is like a sieve. Like, I haven't retained anything. It's not a mark against the books. No, it's not. It's just my brain is a sieve with these sort of things. Like, I can't, unless I'm really hyper fixated on something, or I really like it, I won't remember much of anything about it, even though I liked it. Like, I remember most of what's happened in the Last of Us games, but if you asked me about any other game, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you a thing, because my brain is a sieve. Yeah, this pairs Nesta and Cassian together, which is a really good choice. I can't wait. I just know there's going to be an Azriel book. Pretty sure it's going to be the next main one, because Nesta and Cassian felt like one book. Feyre and her story was definitely multiple books. This felt like a pretty definitive story for Nesta. On the next one to be actually out, I don't know if I ship in with Elaine, who's Feyre's younger sister. or with character that gets introduced in this book. I do have a theory Elaine's gonna become a villain. Don't know why. It's either Elaine or Lucien are gonna become, or both are gonna become villains. No idea why, no idea how, but I trust in Sarah to make a good story, make a good book, and I really enjoyed it, which is probably why I went to read Throne of Glass earlier. Glass earlier than I planned. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below and click on the bell to be notified of any new films. My pile just fell over. And I'll see you around soon. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at BrickGirlReading, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.